And this is a recurring theme. I'm not the only person that thought that, because it's just like, this motherfucker said, blow me like some green tea, baby. What are you talking about? So you're like, that shit was so, you need more than fingers in you, nigga. And then I'm hearing niggas is like, oh, this is for the girls. This is what y'all say to bitches outside. Listen to me. I fully understand that I'm probably like the old chubby professor that's from that Family Guy episode. I am not the demographic. I fully accepted that. That is cool. But I'm like, this is what y'all outside saying to these bitches for real? Y'all in the club talking about you need more than fingers in you? This motherfucker said you put the X in expensive. You so annoying. What did you say to me? There is some, like, when I tell you this there was another bar this nigga said they don't not he said something like, yo, it's the light skin, the Jewish roots. They trying to not see me at the top of the mountain, like I don't do what I do. I said, this nigga make a Nazi Mountain Dew and mountaintop success reference. You using entendres and homophones on that type of shit, bro? When I tell you and niggas is in these comments, bro, and I'm trying not to be like just outright judgmental, but I'm talking to y'all because I just gotta say it out loud. Like when I tell you I was texting my brother and I'm texting my sister and I'm saying, yo, what are we talking about? What is he saying to me? And niggas want to argue about, yeah, nah, he's the greatest to ever do it. But here's the important part, right? Because what I also see is that Young Miami that came out with this song, Spin That. And this song is going up. Spin that shit. Spin that. Where all my scamming ass niggas at? And that song is going up. So I'm like, of course niggas is talking about shebang. Manisha on the beat, shebang. Niggas said, what do I need? Some head. Sir. When I tell you, I'm like, oh no, I think I'm the old bitch in the club now. But here's the thing, that nigga's older than me. I'm 35. I'm 35. He's 38. And I'm like, you know what? But the important part that the important note that I was originally making is that is what makes him an economist. He understands what people are drove or driven to. He understands where people's capacity are. And the thing about being an economist is understanding the demand and providing the supply. This is how come, and my personal perspective, this is why he made 3 albums. Because he's not an innovative person. He's not coming up with new shit. And he actually referenced it in this song. He said, I checked the top 10. I don't recognize nothing up there. Now, the average person will see that and be like, yeah, it's not there because Drake is not outside and blah, blah, blah. They're going to follow the conversation in accordance to how it's happened on social media. But when he said that, all I heard is this motherfucker was looking for how could he pivot to his next new sound. That's what I heard. Hear me when I tell you. So I'm not knocking him for it because I don't think that it's particularly wrong. You got to be bold. You got to be audacious to do things like innovate and hope for it to be received and land well and land. There's a lot of stuff on his album that I'm like listening to it and I'm like, he got this from this person. He got that from that person. I'm not going to go through that because I don't want to just be a hater. I feel like I'm doing enough by just talking about it. But I will say that I noticed that he used country sounds and J. Cole just dropped all his stuff and there was country music on it. Sorry. Just gonna put that out there real quick. But anyway, he sampled himself in his old bodies of work. Like, and all of that makes sense, but that also is a byproduct of being a smart creator versus an innovative or creative genius. And I think that again, that to me is completely okay. Hey, editing Sarah just popping in here really quick. There was something that I forgot to mention, and it was around that song Cheetah Print that I really like didn't understand. And the chorus goes like smack that ass until I leave a print, smack that ass like it's cheetah print. And hear me when I tell you that after listening to Drake's body of work, I sincerely sat back and was like, yeah, if I was 21, I probably wouldn't be fucking with Drake at all. Only because for real, that feels like a dog whistle at his bitch. And I'm only saying that because when I think of Cheetah Print and rappers, like I think of Lotto. Just saying. It might be a reach. I very well could be wrong about that, but it doesn't make sense, right? Like when I think of an entendre around cheetah, the other word that I think of is cheater. So smack it until you leave your print like you're a cheater. And that's what made me look at it like, I don't know, bro. And Brian from Family Guy also would love to smash Lois. So it just didn't seem far fetched. But like that's just me projecting at this point because if I'm keeping it real, like listening to the albums didn't make me trust Drake more. Yeah. We still don't trust you, bro. Like that's terrible. But that's it. Go back to the video. As a final point that I think is interesting, but I think is important to pay attention to. He sold 460 something thousand copies of his album. He ain't released no vinyls or nothing like that. To me, let me not tell you, I was particularly interested in how many of his fans actually went ahead and like purchased it digitally. There was about 13,000 digital purchases on Iceman and 6,000 on each of Habibti and Maid of Honor. I'm not going to lie to y'all and say that that wasn't alarming to me. Streams are great, but I can also insert a clip of his fan base acting like actual bot farms that he's suing UMG and all of that other stuff for. So that's a whole nother conversation that I'm really interested in seeing about viability. But what I did notice, because before I posted this or started to record this rather, he dropped a fragrance. And I said he's trying to ensure that he makes money outside of his record deal. And that's how he's solidifying his stream of income, which is what, and I mean this with respect. This is what Jay-Z was talking to like Megan Thee Stallion, ASAP Rocky, all these people. Like, because she mentioned it, but she was like, if you in a fucked up deal, you got to make your money outside of the record deal, like through sponsorships and so on and so forth. And if you pay attention, that's how come you see people that are a part of Rock Nation that even if they're not doing a lot musically, a lot of their earnings and their viability as far as monetary or compensatory structure is concerned, it's outside and the brand that they built for themselves. It's important. This is the difference that we see between a Young Money and a Rock Nation. Respectfully. Respectfully. This is the conversation that's being had about his contracts and so on. And so I think that what Drake did was smart. I think that he's done music making and song structuring long enough that he essentially has a template. I don't think that he has much else to do besides use his template and show up, which is why the ghostwriters and things like that were viable, right? Because they can give the innovation that he might not necessarily possess on his own. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing at this point. And I also don't think that many of the people that listen to Drake at this point are listening to him for the perpetual cognitive capacity, but more so the perception of superiority and the living vicariously through him as an agent of rap. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, y'all are being a little weird, but I'm seeing people like dudes is really saying like, yo, we went number one. And I'm like, oh, y'all are really having like this means a lot to y'all. So again, I don't want to be disrespectful and disregard what that means and what that looks like and so on and so forth. But I also want to acknowledge, I could talk about the hypocrisy with him and Cole and Future and all that other stuff, but I think that's a dead horse that's been beat already. I don't need to get into that. What I do want to talk about is that I remember when niggas used to make fun of Coi Leray and talk about like the TikTok music and all this other stuff while I'm watching this transition into streaming music become more valuable when somebody like a Drake does it. But when Coi Leray was talking about it back in 2018 and using TikTok and using streaming like as your marketing vehicle, niggas laughed at her and said she wasn't shit. I think that that's very interesting. So I also want to acknowledge, I think that this is why I actually like female rap more than I like the male rap space. And it's because as a cognitive sport, and I don't think that enough of the male rappers understand, respect, or appreciate how many people actually get into it for the cognitive sport rather than for the boasting of it all, right? So sometimes people are going in for it and having fun. This is why you got the baby who's kind of cracked that's dry spell that he was on with Pop That, right? Because it's about having fun and it's related to that. Cognitively, it's not necessarily just the wordplay and so on and so forth. It's about your capacity to connect with people, the time, the space. And that takes a lot more strategy than people realize, which is why Drake is so successful just on the perception of number one, even if he's not perceived as the best. Because, I mean this with love. I'm not saying that Drake is whack. I would never say that he can't rap. I think that that's dishonest. I think that would be genuinely that's disingenuous, like fully. But to sit here and act like the guy that went from the grassy to rapping has a whole lot to say because he's quote unquote relatable, I think it's bullshit by a lot of people. Um, and I think that that's what he's really genuinely up against. Like he talked about it on his song where he's like, "Yo, I'm battling aging," right? Because he never got a chance to experience just being a guy out in the street, just living a regular life. Even down to love and relationships. He's like, "Oh, I'm paying for the crib that Shorty staying in, and she bringing a nigga over there and sleeping with him. That's some me shit." Like again, like, bro, you too old to be this foolish. That's some me shit. That you got all of these shallow and superficial relationships, like that doesn't help. And I think that this is the problem. I think that Drake really only has 40, 21 Savage, and Cole. I think them is the only people that was actually his friend. Everybody else, he was useful, and he doesn't even realize that he was just useful. Even down to the whole dynamic with him and LeBron. He's like, yeah, like everybody's like, yo, he tatted LeBron on him. You know that fans do stuff like that, right? Like that's a fan thing. There's a lot of fans that have LeBron or Cardi or a Megan or a Nicki Minaj. Like there's people that have Drake's face tatted on them. That's a fan thing to do. But I don't think that he understands that, right? Or he this is that thing. There's like a maturity thing that I feel like he didn't get a chance to actually exist in long enough. And in part, it's because, Drake been dropping music, and I had to look this up. I was like, yo, how many bodies of work did this nigga put out? Because everybody was like, yo, Drake ain't been outside, he ain't this. But Drake never stopped putting out music between 2024 and 2026. Like between, the Battle and Iceman, mad music came out by Drake. And so it made me go and check, like, yo, how often is this nigga putting? Yo, you know that this nigga put out albums like damn near every year? Like every year. My brothers, when they played football, their coaches used to say this shit. When talent does not work hard, hard work beats talent. And Drake, and going back to that rap economist, that Brian Griffin thing, Drake is a nigga that's been working hard. He put out an album damn near every year, album and or mixtape every year. So it's two things that we got to be honest about. That this is a nigga that just kept showing up so that you wasn't going to forget him. But also that if he stopped showing up, that you will forget him. And that is proven to me. Let me not say it's as a fact. In my perspective, that proves true. He don't even have the capacity to sit and see if his bodies of work stand the test of time, fizzle out, and so on. And listen, Take Care, great album. Take Care is a very different body of work than the rest of his bodies of work. And he's put out so much music. So much music. And it's not an expectation that all of it is going to be charting and so on and so forth. It's that y'all do forget him. And he sees it and he knows it. And then whenever he come back outside, y'all try to act, oh nah, he's the best time. He's been, and if you listen what people talk about, he's been doing it for so long. Not the creative reach, not the subject matter, not the storyteller, and he tried to like, oh, how many people did you help out with your record deal and this, that, and the other? And I'm like, Drake, you ain't helped nobody that you wasn't getting nothing from, sir. At least that's how I look. You not out here doing charity, bro. You ate good off of everybody. You ate good off of everybody. Niggas are like, oh, he gave Cole his first number one. Drake also benefited from that number one record. What the fuck are we talking about? That was a mutual benefit. That's what you call that. Didn't matter. He didn't do a charity. He didn't produce that song for Cole. He didn't do that. Because the creative innovation that goes into making great songs, Drake is not the nigga that has that. He has viability. That motherfucker is like like an iPhone. Do you notice that? Like iPhones, cars, and all that other shit, they make them shits every year. I want you to think about a nigga producing a body of work every single year, the same way we see bodies of work being produced by phones. It's not much that's different to it. Eventually something changed. But the hype around the iPhone is around the exclusivity that is presumed based on how often they reproduce. And that's how come iPhone is like, oh, it's iPhone, and you know niggas got an iPhone, and if you don't got the blue and this, that, and the other, and it becomes you creating the fallacy of hype around it more than it is about, oh, is it super great? Is it life-changing or anything like that? Maybe, maybe not necessarily, especially when most of us, all we do is take pictures and send text messages and scroll on Instagram. The value of the iPhone, we ain't even using it 90% of the time, but it's the hype around the accessibility. Marketing is so important. And that's why I got to get a nigga his credit. I got to give him his credit. Because while I could have a whole conversation about what I perceive to be his limitations and talent, I cannot have that same conversation in how hard he works. He pays attention to what the internet is talking about. He pays attention to what's on the charts. He pays attention to what people are interested in. And he creates the supply based on what the economy demands. That is an economist. Got to give him his credit. Full stop. And while all of the conversation around being number one and having this record break and this, that, and the other, there's a lot of people that are going to move on because the thing that I believe people actually, especially his fans, what they actually like about him is the perception of him being number one. And the minute that he steps away from that number one glory spot, the people that are vicariously living through the perception of his grandiosity will not like him no more because they're going to be looking for the next thing to create that feeling for them. And that's why he doesn't want to age, because he knows himself inside of his fans. That's my perception, though. That's my perception. That's how come he jumped out and he had that battle with Kendrick. That's how come he talking about Cole should have stayed and should have fought with him. And because he cannot see anything outside of that fragility of I'm so special. That's the difference to me. But I could be wrong. I'd love to hear what y'all got to say. Thanks for hanging out with me. I got to get out of here. Bye.